This weekend, I had the opportunity to speak to a runner who has been running for 15 years, and his personal best is 3 hours and 47 seconds. So close to that sub 3. And talking to him, he's 62 years old, and he's been running since he was 47. Very quickly in his running journey, he got to 3:08 marathon. And that was within a year and a half. So in the last 13 and a half years, he's managed to improve that by 7 minutes. And initially, when we get into running, the curve, the progression curve is really steep. And then to find those extra minutes and seconds gets progressively more difficult, and that's natural. If we look at Elcho Kipchoge and as he moved towards the sub 2 hour marathon barrier, there were so many factors to play. I'm going to come back to the marathon runner, 3 hour marathon runner, but there were so many factors to play with Elcho Kipchoge. There's so many people involved in that attempt. We're talking everything from Nike, exercise physiologists, nutrition specialists from Morton, lots of scientists looking at what he's doing, not just in the lab, but out on the field. There's many components to what has to go right. And we're talking about sleep. We're talking about diet and nutrition and water. We're talking about reduced stress, mental health and well-being and feeling confident. We're then talking about the exercise physiology. What is the blood and what are the lungs and heart doing in a control situation like lab and out on the field where it really matters? How is the temperature affecting? What has he got on his feet? All those little intricate details. But then strength training, making sure that he's robust enough in his legs and his complete body in order to take the load of a marathon and the marathon training even more so in order for that to go right. And Elcho Kipchoge has been incredibly consistent over 13, 15, 16, 17 marathons, whatever it is now, but won the majority of them. So we can look at Elcho and see what he's obviously a genetic freak of nature. And so, but we can look at him because we can then see money is no object, because Nike will throw whatever it takes. Morton will throw whatever it takes in order for him to do as well as possible. And so we can look at him and see what he's focusing on in order to be the best possible version of himself, to be as fast as he possibly can on one race day, usually London, and then the next race day, Berlin. And so looking at this 3 hour marathon runner, a little bit frustrated, 3 hours and 47 seconds, and feeling like it's taken me 13 years to gain 7 minutes. But it's not the case. And the reason it's not the case is because we are quick to get into the fact that we built habits and we've started to run. And starting at 47 is absolutely brilliant. And starting to run, and this person is running every day. 6 times a week, he goes out and he runs between 50 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes. And then at the weekend, he's running a long run. Saturday long run, usually 2 hours. And so that endurance is there. The tenacity, the resilience is there. And you can quite easily get to a point, and he had he had the fortunate situation to be able to run with a quick marathoner, 2:30 marathoner, in order to learn, learn on the go. And this is why I'll always say, whatever job you're doing, get to where you need to get to, because you're learning is 360. But he could quite easily kind of, what are you doing? Oh, right, you're doing some faster work, you're doing a longer run. And then naturally you go to the internet. How can I get faster? How can I improve my marathon time and get towards? And that 3 hour marathon is such a round figure that everybody wants to get under. And it is a big milestone. It is a great marathon. If you can run sub 3 marathon, then it's fantastic. And you're up there with the best marathon runners. But when you look at the entire picture, what this person needs to do differently, then, as I said, the sleep, the reduced stress, the diet, the nutrition, but not just the diet and nutrition all week, but the diet and nutrition of what you do in the days before. What are you eating and drinking the days before? What are you eating on the morning of the race? What are you eating during the race? How many grams of carbohydrate are you taking in per hour? Have you trained with that? Is your stomach not only able to take it in and you've not got stomach problems, but is your stomach able to metabolize that and get it to use to the muscles in order to use as energy in order to propel you forward? What does the end of a marathon feel like when you don't get the nutrition right? It's telling and it's difficult, and you're surviving that last 30 to 60 minutes. You've got that, and then you've got exercise physiology. You've got the sports psychology that Elcho will have access to. So essentially, like, what is stopping you from getting over that barrier, that 3 hour barrier? And then to add to that, you've got, okay, how can I specifically train strength so that it impacts my running and it impacts the interval session that I'm doing, and the structure of the week impacts the interval session so my stride length is longer. and I'm more robust, so I'm more confident. And that stride length, we have the data now. We can look at the watch, and we can look at what the Garmin is telling us in terms of stride length, in terms of ground contact time, in terms of oscillation. So we can see, are we moving forward as far as we need to every single step? Eloid's step is nearly 2 meters, and that's strong throughout the marathon. From the first 5K to the last 5K, he remains, and if you look at him, he looks like the perfect runner from start to finish. Nutrition is dialed in. So he's taking 100 grams of carbohydrate per hour. How can we, who are taking 37.5 grams, probably if you're taking a gel every 40 minutes, how can we improve towards 100 grams an hour? And maybe not that, because that's a lot, but 80 grams an hour. Imagine the difference if we had that extra 40 grams, 42.5 grams per hour, what that would do. What about the training, the strength training? If that's specific to improving our stride length, and we're improving the power of the glutes, the power of the hamstrings, the power of the quads, the calf muscles, lower leg strength and robustness, in order to take on that training that is needed to do a successful 3 months training specifically towards the marathon and the training for the year. Will that then translate in terms of pace in the interval session? That will nicely feed into the long run. So in zone 2, at nice, easy effort, we're able to go faster, and that pace then relates more to the race pace that we're trying to do, the 3-hour marathon. All these factors increase. What about if you have bad sleep right now and you increase that? All of a sudden you have 6 hours because you're one of those people, I only need 6 hours and I'm fantastic. No, unless you're in the 0.01%, you need at least 7 hours. And I'd say optimally, if you put in this level of training in, you need 8-9 hours a day. So what does that look like when you implement that? How does it reduce your stress levels? Are you in a high pressure job that has a lot of stress? What about if you take that stress down? How does that increase? All those factors are really important. There's 8 key factors. I'll put them in this description. But then on top of that, how we can nail all that, we can get the training absolutely perfect, and it will tell us we're going to hit 2:55 for the marathon. But if we don't plan properly, what is our journey to the race? What race are we doing? Okay, Berlin Marathon. How long am I going to be there before? How long is the flight? Maybe you're flying 14 hours, maybe you're flying 2 hours from London. How long is that flight? Where am I going to stay the day before? What are the logistics to get to the start line? How am I going to do that? Am I going to be able to eat the same breakfast on the morning? Am I going to be able to eat the same food that I'm used to before? Have I trialed that out? Is it good for me? Is it optimal? Or is it just because I know that other people do it and I'm doing it? What's best for me? Once you start to look at all those factors, then if you think of 8 different areas where you can improve, your results, if you improve just 1% on each of those 8, your results are exponential. And that for me was a gold moment when I realized that, and when I started to look at that, okay, let's speak to a sports nutritionist. What can I do better? Tell me, how can I eat better? And guess what? Once you nail that and you nail the macronutrients that you need, you're nailing the amount of protein that you need, that feeds into the strength work, which then feeds into the stride length, which then makes us a more robust athlete because we're a healthier athlete and we can take more training load, so we can add more on the intervals and on the long run to make ourselves more prepared. So many different aspects. I'm telling you now that if you've got into running, if you've been running without structure, no matter how long you've been running for, and without thinking about these things, the smaller things, and really putting time into them, you're just scratching the surface. So whatever your personal best is right now, you're capable of so much more. I'm going to report back to you on this, on Richard, the 3-hour and 47-second marathon guy. I'm going to report back because he's not just going to get a sub 3-hour marathon. This guy is capable of sub 240 easily. And I think sub 230 easily at 62. And so where does that put him in the world of 62, 63-year-old marathon runners? I'll report back and tell you, but you're scratching the surface. If you got anything from this, like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell.